Hello everyone, welcome to Be Live. My name is Susan Fleischman. I'm the Executive Director of Cambridge Community Television. I have the great pleasure every single Monday at 4:30 to do my show called Not for Nothing, and I get to interview executive directors from local nonprofits. And tonight I am very fortunate to have my friend and fellow colleague, Sasha Purpura from Food for Free. And we're going to talk about food for free and food.
That's great. That's what could be better.
Yeah. So I know that Food for Free started as an idea 33 years ago,
Yes.
in 1981. Just some folks got together.
Yeah, so it was long before my time at Food for Free, but
Long before you were born.
long before
Yeah.
I was born.
Right.
But it was basically some Cambridge residents looked around and saw this problem that is food waste. So you walk back behind a supermarket at the end of the day and they're throwing out perfectly good produce that maybe has been on the shelves 2 days, so they don't want to keep selling it.
Mhm.
And they saw this problem of food waste. This was all going into a dumpster. And at the same time, they saw this problem of hunger or really lack of access to nutrition, right? It can often go hand in hand with obesity in this country, but it is a lack of access to that healthy food. And so they took this problem that was food waste and it became this solution. They basically borrowed a van and went around to these supermarkets and picked up that food at the end of the day and brought it to food pantries and meal programs and shelters. And 33 years later, we're doing that to the tune of about 1 million pounds a year distributed to over 100 agencies.
Wow, what does 1 million pounds of food mean?
We try to figure out this
how
too.
How many pounds of food
A
does
meal,
somebody eat?
a meal is on average 1.2 pounds.
Okay.
And an elephant weighs 2,000 pounds.
Okay. Yeah.
I was about to put 2,000 into 1 million. I get messed up with the zeros. There's
Okay.
a lot of elephants.
Yeah, and they're big.
And they're big.
Yeah.
But 1 million pounds is a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
700,000 pounds of that is actually stuff that would get thrown out. So 700,000 pounds would be divided by 2,000. What is that? Come on.
Don't
Really?
mess with me.
It's over 3,000 elephants
Yes,
worth of food. 500, I think.
500 elephants.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's a lot of food.
Anyway, so so they weren't even like incorporated for the first 2 years. These were just people who came up with a great idea, were
Yeah.
doing it out of love and caring for their community.
Yeah.
And then it was incorporated in 1985.
Yeah, I think it was. I thought it was before that, but you may know better. I just come in and like.
1985. I read your
Really?
website today.
Thank you. So Susan will tell you all about what we do. I thought we were incorporated in 81, but that could be correct.
Okay.
81 might be when we were founded.
I think so, but we'll go back and look at the website and check it out.
I should know.
Anyway, so since then, obviously, incredible growth.
Yeah.
And I know you have like 4 main programs right
Yes.
now.
Actually, we're up to 5. We
You're up
just
to the
added one.
5th.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
going to
yeah.
get to that, but let's
Okay.
talk about the 4
The main ones.
the main ones that you're working with now. So
Sure.
Produce Rescue
So
is the
Produce Rescue is our core, and that's what we've been doing for 30 plus years. And that's picking up the food at the markets, at farmers markets, at Boston Organics, at Chelsea, and distributing that. That's the 1 million pounds. Now, sometimes we do some purchasing for that, and we also collect food from the food bank. But that's the core of Food for Free.
So, and obviously the supermarkets are not throwing stuff in the dumpster and waiting for you to come and
Oh gosh,
get
no.
it. So
This
now
is
there's
good. Yeah. We actually get pictures of this food. We thought we
Uh-huh.
talked about it the other night about it's good food. It's stuff I would happily eat. So if you think about Whole Foods, if lettuce has been on the shelf for 2 days or 3 days, they can't sell it at top dollar. It's still perfectly good for another 3 or 4 days. Good lettuce. I mean, you come home and you put it in your fridge and you might eat it 4 days later. So it's good food.
Yeah.
So that's Produce Rescue. And we call it Produce Rescue because of that 1 million pounds, about 60 to 70% is fresh produce. Because the issue, again, it's not a lack of access to calories, it's a lack of access to nutritious calories in this country anyway. So then after that we've got, we have the Field of Greens.
Yeah, that's a neat thing.
That is a neat thing. So Ari Kurtz, who is the owner of Linen Tree Farm in Lincoln, it's an organic farm, he used to sit on our board. And he, as a farmer, wanted to give back in more ways. So every year he dedicates a 1/4 acre of his farm to us. He says, this 1/4 acre, food for free, that's yours. He gives us seeds, he lets us use equipment, he helps out. And once a week, April, May through October, we go out with some volunteers. We have a farm manager and assistant farm manager. We spend 5 hours in the fields planting, weeding, harvesting fresh organic produce that goes directly into the program. So that's been a great way for volunteers to get involved, and it's just, it really connects local food with this whole access issue.
Just to ask a question about that in particular, if other farmers did that, would you have the capacity to farm additional
It's
property?
actually, No, we would not as we stand. I mean, it's something that we could certainly develop if it made sense as a program, but this is for now. I have 2 people that work for us 26 weeks a year at 5 hours a week. They're fantastic, our latest farm manager and our assistant farm manager, but it's a tough thing to staff and get people to volunteer on Wednesday mornings. It's been very effective, but from a management standpoint, I think if we were to really grow that, it would have to become a focus. And it's really different than our mission, which is capturing food that's otherwise going to go to waste. I think it's a great complement to what we do, but that food we're growing specifically to get to people who need it.
That's great, that's great. And then?
Transportation partnership.
Transportation partnership.
So in 2010, I believe, the food bank, the Greater Boston Food Bank, lost a partner that was delivering a lot of the food. So the Greater Boston Food Bank supplies tremendous amounts of food throughout the emergency food program. They have funding to buy food, to get these people food for food at no cost, as well as at a low cost. So a lot of agencies throughout the Greater Boston area order food from the food bank, but they're volunteer run, they don't have transportation, and so there used to be another organization that would deliver their orders. And in 2010 that went away. So Food for Free stepped in, and we already work with 12 of the food pantries that place orders, and we agreed to be their transportation. So we were already going to see these pantries with rescued food. We agreed that we would also pick up their orders, because we're going to the food bank to get stuff for ourselves, and bring it to their agencies. And so with that, we deliver about, I think last year was about 850,000 pounds. So it lets these agencies, at that same time, other agencies in other cities actually stopped having access to the food bank, because they simply couldn't get the food. So we ensured that these folks can still order, 3,000 pounds of peanut butter and tuna fish and whatever else they're offering.
How many food pantries are there in Cambridge?
Cambridge has 12 food pantries,
Okay.
which is good. I mean, Cambridge,
Yeah.
with Food for Free bringing a lot of produce to these pantries, because it's hard otherwise for them to get it, and with the number of them, that's a good number. There's also, I don't know how many offhand, meal programs, because there's more popping up. There's shelters. There's a lot of, I didn't really know until I joined Food for Free, there's more needed, but there is a tremendous network of agencies out there for people to get food if they're in need. And these pantries won't turn you away.
So you're not really involved on that end of it, so.
We are not really direct service, except for our last program, home delivery, which I'll mention now.
Yes.
So home delivery started at the request of the city of Cambridge. There are 12 food pantries out there, and there are a lot of people who use those. And these are not just people who don't have jobs. These are a lot of working people as well.
Yeah.
Food is expensive, and so is
Nutritious
housing.
food is expensive.
Nutritious food is incredibly expensive. So there's a lot of people out there who access these pantries. Well, there's a lot of people out there who are low income and have sort of access, except they may be physically disabled or they may be elderly. There are a lot of them out there. They live by themselves, no family. They don't have money, and they really cannot physically go to a food pantry and collect the groceries. And this is a really lonely population. And the city of Cambridge asked, would we help? And so we started something called home delivery, where once a month we would bring a box full of 40 pounds of groceries, half produce, to these folks at home to let them cook, let them have some independence. That program's grown significantly. In 2012, I believe, Boston Organics, might have been 2013, Boston Organics offered, out of the kindness of their hearts, Jeff, the owner there, wants to be part of the community. He said, we were maxed out at 60 clients. We couldn't fit more in a day. So he said, you know what? How about another day I send a van over and a driver for free and let you expand that program, because we had a wait list. So we're now up to 95 clients.
Wow.
And as of this year, thanks to a generous donation from just an individual donor of $20,000 last year, we now do it twice a month. So they have groceries all month long.
Wow. So that's but that is a whole other thing than delivering bulk. So now you're making a box for somebody.
We're actually making a box and bringing it to them. And we do a lot of purchasing for that to make sure they get exactly what they need in there.
Well, so do they get to request anything, or?
No, it's hard to manage that. It depends on
Sure,
who's managing
no.
it, because if they call you up and they ask you,
Yeah. I
and
want
you're
some
in the
peanut
mood,
butter.
you'll go for
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
you'll try, but then you have 30 people asking you.
Sure.
So we try to keep the boxes the same. This Thanksgiving, for the first time, we usually give them whole chickens at Thanksgiving. This year, my new operations director is willing to do the work to find out who wants turkeys, who can handle a turkey, and getting turkeys
Wow.
for those who want it. So we do try to help, but we can't customize
Sure.
95 boxes.
No, I know, it's, as I said, it's such a different thing from what you generally do.
Yeah.
How do people, if we have some viewers there who are in need of such a service. How is
Oh,
it
so home
requested?
delivery, we do have on our website, you can access an application or call us at 617-868-2900, ask for food for free, and we can get you an application. Basically, you have to live alone. We will require a doctor's note that indicates that you can't physically access a pantry. Have to be a Cambridge resident, and that's really it. And right now, there's a wait list again, but
Mhm.
we hope to keep that small and make sure we can serve the people who need it.
That's very cool. So let's talk about what's going on here. We talked about this when we got together a couple weeks ago, which was just this whole other interesting area of prepared food pickup.
Yeah. So this is new for us, and it's the opportunity is amazing.
Yeah.
So what's happening in parallel, it is in a way driving this, but it's also coincidence. We started a partnership I'll talk about in parallel to this. October
Mhm.
1st, Massachusetts implemented something called the commercial food waste ban. And it's the most progressive.
Let's
of
say
its-
that very slowly. Commercial food waste ban.
Commercial food waste ban. Exactly.
So you can be fined if you throw away.
More than a ton, more than an elephant's worth. So
Uh-huh.
more than 1,000 pounds a week of food, you can be fined. And that affects 1,700 organizations in the state. Hospitals, universities, hotels, stadiums. There's a lot of places that actually, the issue was the landfill costs and space are just out of control. So the state said we can't keep doing this. But the result is good, because it's insane to throw away that much food. And by the way, 30 to 40% of all food produced, like grown from seed, gets thrown out. Imagine
Don't tell me that.
10 beautiful heirloom tomatoes that you take home, and before you even start cutting them up for salad, you throw 4 of them in the trash. That's essentially what happens. So this food waste ban is a great incentive for what we have started doing with both Whole Foods and Harvard. Whole Foods in late winter, early spring started, as well as donating all of the produce and canned and meats and milks. They started donating the leftovers from their hot bar. So if you put out, if you've been into Whole Foods, they often have, rice and chicken wings. And at the end of the day, if they have a tray of chicken wings left, perfectly good, delicious chicken wings, they will flash freeze those for us and we'll take them. Based on learning that this was possible, we met with Harvard University, who's always expressed a great interest in donating more from their dining services, and working with a third-party organization called the Food Donation Connection. We piloted their summer dining hall, Annenberg Hall, to say, hey, at the end of every meal, instead of taking all of that just cooked food and throwing it into compost, which is what they were doing, let's flash freeze it. It's delicious, fresh cooked, nutritious meals. They actually source a lot locally. And let's get it to Food for Free to distribute. And so we piloted it over the summer with their dining hall. It worked. And in September, we rolled out all 14 of their dining halls. And we are now picking up between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds a week, which is really equates to 2,000 or 3,000 meals a week of healthy, nutritious food from Harvard. And a lot of people say that's insane that they're wasting that much. And I want to say, to be fair to Harvard, these guys are serving 108,000 meals, buffet style, and their students pay for these meals. So I don't want to walk up to a buffet that I paid for and see one French fry. I mean, they have to keep it stocked, and they've really, through this program, seen the amount of waste and brought it down. But when you serve at that scale, you're going to have waste. And waste is such a bad word in this case, because this isn't waste now. This is leftovers. This is...
Well, I think about it as recycle.
Yeah.
Like, it got to be, that you couldn't throw away recyclables. That's you get fined for throwing away recyclables,
Exactly.
right? This is something that can be recycled.
This is something that can be eaten.
Right.
It's delicious. I mean, it is good food. So think about that with Harvard. Now, Harvard is unique. It's extremely large, and they have their own dining halls. But think about the other universities and hospitals and other things, not only in Cambridge but in surrounding cities, and think about the amount of food. Harvard, MIT, Tufts, BU, Northeastern, Bentley. Those are just the schools, and there's plenty more. And then all of it's amazing. And then think about the fact that those are meals. So we're bringing produce to people, and that's fantastic. And it serves a great population. There is an additional population that may not have a home or a kitchen, may be working 2 jobs, may not have time to cook, and it happens all the time. People can afford to go buy McDonald's because they can feed a family.
Right.
And it's not that they don't care, it's that's what they can afford. Imagine figuring out a way to get these meals to the people who need them. And we're working on that, and we've been making great progress. We're distributing all of that food to agencies as far out as Lowell, but the Cambridge Community Center is taking some, the Salvation Army, Albany Street. We can distribute, individual bags to smaller shelters. And we're looking at new programs and new ways we might be able to get that food to people, working in collaboration with groups,
Right, because it's bulk usually, whoever's
It comes,
donating.
these are big bags, these
yeah.
are big bags.
Yeah.
And we've talked with the city of Cambridge, there's a lot, we're getting that food out as is, but imagine the new programs. Imagine if you can find a group that can staff defrosting that, repackaging it into individual family-sized meals, and sending these kids home with dinner for the night. 42% of Cambridge students qualify for reduced and free lunch. So to send them home with a meal for their family,
Yeah.
nutritious food, would be fantastic.
Fantastic.
So I think over the coming months and years, there's a lot we can do with this in partnership with other agencies and the city itself. It's a really incredible opportunity.
It is. I can see the logistical issues that,
There are logistical issues.
Yeah.
We're working with the food bank to see if they can, if we bring some to them, can they make it accessible at the bag level to all of these smaller places? Because the issue is Food for Free can't distribute 200 bags every day to 200 different agencies. So we've been working so far with mostly larger agencies, and then some of the smaller ones that we can, can come pick up. So, we're open to the public having ideas about this and letting agencies know that this food is available. New meal programs can be started. There's really incredible amounts of opportunity here.
honestly, this is, maybe sound weird, but it sounds like a problem that should be crowdsourced.
Yeah,
Everybody could,
that's true.
You
This is a
know.
perfect kind of thing for almost. Yes,
But
I
somebody-
quickly go to, well, then there's food safety issues, but yes, there is.
well, no, I'm not saying
No, I
that,
know.
crowds would do it. I'm saying crowds would come up with a possible solution.
Well, we need crowds to do it too.
Yeah.
I think any of these new programs, like lots of the existing ones can take this food, and churches can start meal programs. But, if we had a kitchen, a certified kitchen, and a group of people that wanted to manage repackaging this food and getting it, there's logistical challenges, but there are things the Cambridge Weekend Backpack program started because a person, Alana Mallon, said, this needs to happen, just this person, part of the crowd, and started doing some stuff. And that's how a lot of these programs will start.
Right.
Some programs already exist and we should use those, but we are looking, there are ways that people who really want to do something, the food is there. What's needed is the manpower, the woman power, the people power, and the space.
Yeah, I also think about, all the students who go to those schools who often are looking for something to do that helps their community, and wouldn't it be great if the food didn't leave that premise until it was packaged?
Yes,
Something
and so,
smaller.
and I will say Harvard's really engaged in this, so we're looking at, that's tough. They've got 14 dining halls to sort of package, to take some mashed potatoes and some, there's a lot of work, and they do have a budget as well, but
Sure.
I am really hopeful about what we can do with this and the additional universities and places that we start working with.
I know that you were looking for suggestions from me, so I'm going to give you.
I love your suggestions. Go ahead, what is it?
So,
Give me the resources
if every kid who eats at that buffet.
Yeah,
Throws away the end of their meal and they come back around and make.
a meal for somebody else.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Yeah, then they need to flash freeze it, and
Right.
then you need to flash freeze 1,000 meals.
Right, so
And
does-
then Harvard needs to pay for that, and
But so tell me about this
I'm
flash
so
freezing,
negative.
because, no.
flash
this is-
freezing,
Do they have to get new equipment to do
they
this
have to
flash?
just they have to get food safe bags, and it
Yeah.
has to be bags, because and I'm just learning this as I go. The idea of flash freezing means things have to come to a frozen temperature in a certain amount of time
Yeah.
to ensure that there's no
Salmonella.
health
Yeah.
issues. And so to do that, it has to have so much, you put it in bags so that you can flatten it. I think there's a number of inches. It has to be less than so many inches,
Uh-huh.
an inch and a half, I don't know what the number is, so that it can get cold enough quick enough.
Yep.
So if you put stuff in like a Tupperware,
Mhm.
it won't flash freeze, it's too
Mhm.
high. So they basically just put it in these bags that are provided by the Food Donation Connection, they put it on metal trays, and
Uh-huh.
they wheel it into the freezer.
Okay.
And then we come later that day, or we come the next day for that food, they wheel it out, we put it in
Uh-huh.
boxes, we either bring it back to our freezer, or we bring it directly to a program, and they either go to defrost it, or put it in their freezer until they're ready to use it.
I imagine, even your freezers must have a certain limit to what you
Oh,
can
yeah.
handle, so.
So Harvard was we started with Harvard. Whole Foods we sort of integrated into our existing program. Harvard was really a lot of food, and Kelly, who I hired, our first operations director in June, came in and had to hit the ground running to figure out what are we gonna do with this food. So our freezer was filling up daily, and Kelly was calling everybody saying, where can this food go? We have gotten to a point that we are successfully, sort of on a day-to-day basis, have the recipients for the current food that we're collecting. You know, Lowell, this transitional services in Lowell serves 500 meals a day. So they come out once a week and take 1,000 to 2,000 pounds. And they are so that it just cut their budget, so they can now spend that money on other services. We drop some off at Albany Street each week. We have smaller agencies that come collect. So we are moving it right now, but we had wanted to get this under control before we started to add additional universities, and we're looking into that now.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, let's talk about the Gleaners.
Yes. Boston Area Gleaners. So Thanksgiving is coming.
Yes.
And
Everybody out there wants to help.
everybody out there, well, yes, you can help the Gleaners, you can help us. So it's the holidays, and a couple things happen on the holidays. People think about food and need, and people need food, right? We want everybody to have a good Thanksgiving. So all of these emergency food agencies that serve people all year round really try to get some good food so everybody can have a good Thanksgiving meal. So Food for Free helps a lot with that. Every year we make these sort of unique big distributions of carrots, onions, potatoes, squash, greens, fruit, and they're getting turkeys through others as well. And this usually costs us quite a bit of money. We do a lot of purchasing to make sure these agencies have what they need. This year, for the first time, the Boston Area Gleaners, a really incredible organization that is heavily relies on volunteers. They go out on fields of farms after a farmer has picked their crop of potatoes and can't spend the money to make sure they get every last potato, or same with carrots, apples. They have tremendous amount of food gets left in the fields, that 30 to 40%. A lot of that happens at the field level, not because people don't care, but because they're trying to run a business. So Duck, the executive director, Lori Caldwell, we call her Duck, with a group, with her gleaning coordinators and volunteers, goes out to these farm fields at the farmers, with the farmer's permission, and they glean. They collect all of that farm, fresh, incredible food. This year, they're going to do 10 tons in 10 days to meet almost all of our need for Thanksgiving deliveries. That's 2,000 pounds a day on average of food. And so they are looking for volunteers. You know, if you go to bostonareagleaners.org, they have, you can sign up to be a volunteer, look at the calendar. Every day they're going to be gleaning carrots and onions, and not onions, carrots, potatoes, fruit, greens, all kinds of things.
Wow.
And people really want to volunteer during the holidays.
Right.
Now, in terms of Food for Free, a lot of people call up and say we want to volunteer during the holidays. For us, during the holidays, we're actually, what's most useful to us are cash donations at the holiday time. We have a sort of very strict schedule. Our Field of Greens is closed. We appreciate cash donations. The pantries often want volunteers. So if you Google different food pantries in Cambridge, they often need hands. Food for Free during the winter, cash. However, the rest of the year, we do like volunteers, particularly in the summer when Field of Greens is open, so May through October. We'd love to have hands out in Lincoln. And we're also looking for regular volunteers, people that can commit to, you know, a shift a week or a shift every other week. Then we can get people on trucks if they're going to be consistent, or we can get them in our office. We understand and appreciate all the people that want to come help on a given day, but that actually becomes more of a management challenge for us than help, because you've got to train people up. So if you can train them and have them on a regular basis, we love it, you know, and they really become a part of our extended organization. And we do rely heavily on volunteers throughout the year.
So if people want to make donations around this time of year, as you said, you're doing a lot of food purchasing at this time of year, which is unusual for what you normally do. They can go to your website, foodforfree.org.
Yes.
Or your mailing address is?
11 Inman Street.
11, that's easy to remember.
It
11
is.
Inman Street in Central Square, 02139.
Right behind City Hall.
Right. You're housed in the CEOC building, right?
We are. The CEOC, the Cambridge Economic Opportunity Committee, provide all kinds of low-income services. We've been there longer than I've been there, and for a very long time, I understand. They're really sort of an extended family. They run a food pantry out of the basement where we provide a lot of the food for that. We sit with them, we share coolers with them. It's a real community organization, both them and us. I mean, if you look at Food for Free and our staff, a lot of them come from the community. A lot of folks that have and still do work for us have or still do use the emergency food system. It's people that are part of the community saying, how do I be a part of my community and make sure that everybody's getting what they need? And the CEOC is just, it sort of extends that. We're all this big happy family.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's nice.
So, okay, so if you could make a cash donation this time of year in particular, it would be awesome. If you are able to volunteer on an ongoing basis through the rest of the year, they're looking for ongoing volunteers. You know, if you've ever volunteered or if you've ever managed volunteers, it's like it takes a long time to train somebody. So, you know,
It does.
if you have somebody just for a couple of hours once a year, it's kind of.
I didn't understand before I started here. I was trying to volunteer at different nonprofits, and
Yeah,
they're not
like,
calling
what
me
do I-
back. I
yeah.
want to help.
Yeah.
And
What
now
do we
I
do to you?
understand.
Yeah.
I mean, we appreciate the help. But if you want to put in a day here or there, the Boston area gleaners, you know, 10 tons, 10 days,
When does that
20,000 pounds.
start?
It's started.
It started.
It's
okay.
between now and next Wednesday, a week
Uh-huh.
from Wednesday.
Wow.
It's great fun work.
Mhm.
You know, today they were out there in the rain.
Ugh, that doesn't sound like fun.
It's
Could you
not,
just
but
say
it is.
yes?
You know, it's amazing. Once you get, it's fun. It's a group of people, and you start to say, "This is weather."
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what farmers do all
This is
the
what-
time.
exactly.
I was thinking about the farmer's market today. And
Oh,
those
and Central,
poor people
and nobody
out there.
comes out. The other thing
Yeah.
people can do, go to a farmer's market on a rainy day.
Yeah.
Because those
Those
farmers,
farmers work really hard
yeah.
at what they do, and they.
My husband is a farmer, and I used to go to the farmer's market, and boy, all he wanted to do was tell people, it's great that you come out on sunny days.
Yeah.
But we would still get up, crack of dawn on rainy days, and we would harvest, and we'd wash,
Yeah.
and then we'd stand in the rain all day, and
And
nobody would
nobody would
come,
come.
right? So,
Okay, all right.
but
So
that means food for
support your
free gets a
local-
lot at the end.
Okay, that's good. Oh, so it's.
The farmers do
yeah.
donate at the end to Food for Free,
Very-
which is
very
fantastic.
sweet.
Yeah.
All right, well, so I want to thank Sasha for being here today. We're running out of time, but I think that hunger is not something that many of us think about, but there are a lot of people in our communities that are hungry, who are hungry, and you can help. A cash donation is great this time of year, and also just keeping it kind of in your consciousness.
Knowing it exists, even
Yeah.
in Cambridge.
It's really wonderful. So thank you so much
Thank you,
for
Susan.
coming.
We really
always-
appreciate the
We always
opportunity.
have a lot of fun talking
wanna
to
come
each other.
back.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Well, you can have your own show. We'll talk about that.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
So thanks for watching, and we'll be back here next Monday at 4:30, and hope to see you then.
Happy.